Morning, everybody. It is 6 a.m. here in Michigan. Welcome back to Cool Stuff, etc. My name is Riley, and today we have a very long overdue, maybe not very long, but overdue at least, what have I been up to episode. If this is your first time joining us for this series, it's where I talk about what I have been up to. I wonder if you could have guessed that. But basically this is just like all the movies I watched, music I listened to, games I played, yada yada yada. So without further ado, let's get into it because these videos tend to run long. I'm gonna try and be concise. I have my notes again, which is kind of a new thing that I'm trying to do. So I have my notes, so hopefully that'll keep me to the timer, but I'm already almost a minute in and I haven't talked about anything yet. So how about I get started? First off, we have the Stand miniseries from 94. Yeah, so this is a 6-hour long miniseries adaptation of the Stephen King novel about a plague that wipes out humanity and how the survivors are left to pick up the pieces, and there's kind of a war between good and evil. It was fun for me to see all the characters come to life and all the things that happen, like, you know, portrayed on screen and stuff, but it's definitely shown its age. The acting isn't great, I would say. It's actually kind of cheesy in a lot of instances. I can't really think of any actors, I would say, like, who did like a really stellar job. And really probably the worst thing about it is the soundtrack was like a soap opera. Like, it was so, like, they kept having this lead guitar, like, whenever there was like something sad happened, and it was so corny. It's funny though, because the writing isn't terrible, because Stephen King's actually the one who wrote the screenplay for all these 4 episodes. So that's kind of cool. But it I don't know, it didn't really end up working. It didn't have the weight or the impact that the book had on me. So, and I would definitely not recommend watching this. I'm interested to see if the new miniseries is any better. And you know, I have to give them some credit because this was like a very big production at the time. And I know they ran into a lot of issues regarding the production. So I'm not going to be too critical. You know, it was great for the time, but with how TV is nowadays, it's like there's no comparison. But you know, they did what they could. Next up, the Darjeeling Limited. This is a Wes Anderson film from 2007. It's about 3 brothers who meet up following their father's death in India and go on a little vacation. One of the brothers, played by Owen Wilson, has an ulterior motive, and it's kind of just like about, you know, in a lot of ways that Wes Anderson films are, it's about, you know, confronting grief and the childhood that you had growing up and overcoming all that stuff. So, you know, it's one of the ones I haven't seen yet, of course. This is my first time watching it. The other 2 that I haven't seen being Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums. I also kind of include Fantastic Mr. Fox because it's been so long since I had seen that one. So kind of like a 2.5 still that I have to watch. But and I would say this is a very typical, I should hold it up so you can see it. This is a very typical Wes Anderson flick. You know, it's got silly characters, clever writing, a dysfunctional family, really beautiful locales with like the colors really popped. I don't know what kind of filter or lens they were using on this, but the colors really popped in this movie, which added a lot of, like, made it feel very fantasy. I don't think it's his best, but he does do enough to separate it from his other movies. Like, it's not just gonna, like, having seen it now, it's not just gonna like fly under the radar for me. And like, when I talk about Wes Anderson, I feel like I will bring this up and talk about it more. So yeah, I'm happy to have watched it. I have had this movie on DVD, this exact DVD, for like 5 or 6 years, and I just haven't watched it. I just didn't watch it. And now I finally watched it, which I'm glad about. I'm actually going to sell this. I want to get it on Criterion probably eventually, but I'm going to sell this for now because it's kind of, I just hate how many stickers are there and I can't get them all off. So yeah. And the last movie I watched in the past couple weeks was The Lighthouse. This is the second film by Robert Eggers, who, if you don't know, directed The Witch, and then more recently The Northman, which I have not seen The Northman yet, but I really, really want to. In The Lighthouse, it's two guys go into a lighthouse and they start going mad. That's really it. There's not much more of a plot than that. There's little stuff here and there, but that's how I would describe it. The Witch is one of my all-time favorite movies, I would say. I just rewatched it very recently, and it kind of confirmed it for me still. Excuse me, sorry, I just woke up. But if I were speaking objectively, this is a better movie. Just the way it's shot, the way it's acted, the themes, the imagery, I think it is just better. Although I obviously still prefer The Witch over it. I think I just like that setting more. Something about that really connects with me, I guess. Robert Eggers is a very talented filmmaker. He's always adhered to historical accuracy, and you get that from the performances of Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson as well. They both have very different but very thick accents and use lots of lingo from the time and different manners of speaking than we do nowadays. And they really sell the madness. They really get pretty crazy. It's one of those movies where once things like kick off, anything could happen feasibly, and anything can be said. So that's why Robert Pattinson can deliver a line like "God damn your farts," and it's very silly, but at the same time, it's very impactful emotionally as well. Because the guy's honestly, he's been farting the whole movie, so not really Robert's fault. And then included on this Blu-ray, I don't always do this, but included on this Blu-ray, I watched the making of documentary, and that was really interesting. There's some really cool stuff about this. I loved hearing about how the lenses and learning about the kind of camera they used and how that affected how the film looked. So they used a filter that filtered out the cyan in the black and white, and so that made everyone's, I believe this is what they said, this made everyone's pores very visible, so it had this very gritty look to the film. And then also they were showing about how they actually built the lighthouse on this little piece of land in Nova Scotia, which was really cool. And it wasn't an island, it was connected to the mainland, but they make it really look like an island. They trick you with that. Then the last thing I want to mention from the documentary is that they had planned a shot of the lighthouse to match cut to Robert Pattinson's erect penis, and they weren't able to include it because of the producers of the movie insisting to take it out. So if you're a producer of the Lighthouse, fuck you, show us the dick cut. Okay. This is where I finished the movies, I should say. Those are the movies I watched. And this is where I would talk about the shows that I watched, but I haven't been finishing anything. I've been watching Chainsaw Man as it's been coming out. I've been watching Mob Psycho because that new season just released, and I'm watching the first season, so I'll talk about those more when I finish watching them. But yeah, all right, let's get into some albums. I listened to a lot of albums these couple weeks, and I don't want to talk about them all because it's going to take way too long. So I'm going to try and be as brief as I can with each of these, but I'll make sure to mention if I recommend you listen to them or kind of what's good about them or anything like that. So first up, Pavement, Brighten the Corners. This is the fourth album by Pavement. Pavement is one of my favorite indie rock bands, alternative rock, stoner rock, whatever you want to call them. They're really, really talented songwriters. Really poppy, but also very strange and eclectic. I used to say this was their worst, or not their worst, but their weakest album. But having just listened to it again, I'm not really sure. I think that I didn't give it enough credit. There's a lot of great songs on here. And the thing I will say about it, maybe why I didn't like it as much is that it's very different from other Pavement releases. Or to me, it is anyway. So, but yeah, check it out if you are interested in some indie rock. I wouldn't start with Pavement if you haven't listened to other Pavement albums. I wouldn't start with this one, but I would say that if you have listened to Pavement, you could go and listen to this and enjoy yourself. So continuing the indie rock streak, we have, it's hard to see the cover, there's a cloud. This is Built to Spill with There's Nothing Wrong with Love. This is another, like I said, classic sort of indie rock band from the 90s, alternative rock. And there's a lot of catchy hooks here. And there's some good emotional weight. Very stuttery, jammy band as well. Lots of guitar solos. The guitar tone on this thing I really enjoy. It just kind of fits perfectly. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's kind of, if I had to say it had like a shape, it was like, it's very cloudy or like very foggy or buzz, or, you know, it kind of has a buzzy tone to it. But yeah, great album. I highly recommend. I haven't listened to any other Built to Spill. I really should get on that. One of my favorite things about this album that I almost always forget when putting it on is that there's a secret hidden track that's like a preview of the next Built to Spill album, and they like wrote a bunch of fake snippets of like fake songs that they actually didn't write, which is very funny to me. Next up, this is Fear Fun by Father John Misty. This is his first album under the Father John Misty name after he was doing a bunch of solo stuff under Josh Tillman. There's a lot of stuff that I could show you, like little liner notes and stuff, but it's such a pain in the ass to get out. I'll show you one though. But like, it's like a lot. It's like a big piece of paper. Anyways, this is, I would say, comparative to his other releases, this is a very straightforward sort of folk and country, alternative country album. Very funny and cynical lyrics. And I'm not gonna open this all the way, but you see what I'm saying. This is like a bunch of shit. Like, this is insanity. And I think that angle works for him, actually. I think that, you know, adding the bells and whistles to his later releases, like, that's, you know, that's like an interesting way to go about it. But just to write his songs, but I don't think he needs it. I think he's talented enough that, like, the strength of the songs themselves is, like, enough to, without throwing all these, like, extra stuff on it. Although, you know, the extra stuff is still appreciated. Then the other albums we listened to, Transatlanticism by Death Cab for Cutie. If you know what that band is, this is one of their classic albums. I'm not going to show it. I think I've already shown it before, but I recommend this to just about everybody if you're interested in indie rock. So yeah, go check that one out. Next up, we have two albums by the solo project Owen. Owen is the solo project of Mike Kinsella from American Football. And it's an indie folk album, I would say. It's very different. Well, in a lot of ways, it's very different than American Football, but it still is kind of noodly. It still uses like very strange tunings. But it's, yeah, like it's more folky. Like you're not gonna, if you put these bands on side by side, unless you could identify who the singer was and like compare it to that, like I don't think you would know this was an American football related project. But yeah, New Leaves is an older release, and I think this is one of my favorites from this project. All the songs have a really good ear for melody, and the cynical lyrics are always funny and kind of like introspective and thought-provoking. And just, yeah, I don't know. There's so many good songs. I mean, I could list every song on here and it's like, that's the song. But if you need some songs to listen to, New Leaves, the title track is great. A Trenchant Critique, Never Been Born, Brown Hair and a Bird's Nest. I mean, like I said, I could list every song on here. It's great. I really highly recommend that. And the other one is The King of Wise. This is a late, I don't think it's the latest release, but it's the second to latest release. He tries a lot of new stuff on this one, and it works out for him a lot. There's a lot of great songs on here. But also I feel like he strips it back a little bit on some of these songs, and maybe it doesn't work as well. It's kind of one of the weaker Owen releases to me, but there's a lot of good stuff here still. I didn't show you the inside of this or the other one, but it's fine. So yeah, I like the little goat and devil, or the sheep and the devil, you know, that's good. So yeah, that's Owen, the King of Wise. Let's see. Teens of Style, Car Seat Headrest. More modern indie rock, kind of indebted to like Pavement and Built to Spill in a lot of ways, but its own thing for sure. So, you know, Car Seat Headrest is a very popular band online. They started out with just one member, Will Toledo, releasing albums on Bandcamp rather prolifically, very long songs, a lot of time, very like DIY, do-it-yourself kind of thing. So, you know, this is a cool little liner sheet, or a lyric sheet, I should say. So, you know, of the Carpathian Headrest discography, it's not the first I'll reach for. This is just a bunch of re-recordings from previous releases with better production. And, you know, I like how the songs sound. I do kind of feel like the kind of like bedroom production of the originals had a certain charm to them. And it's kind of missing here, but these are still great songs. So yeah, highly recommend it. It's got sort of a garage rock feel to it. A lot of the time, it's very I think the guitar kind of has like a very chunky sound to it, and yeah, it's recommended for sure. This is Streetlight Lullabies by Toh Kay. Let's spell it like that. And this is a cover album. The lead singer of a ska punk band that I love, Streetlight Manifesto. Their lead singer is also a very talented guitarist, and so he released these acoustic covers of a bunch of Streetlight songs. And yeah, every time I put this on, I'm always stunned by how easily these like really energetic and fast-paced punk songs can be converted to folk and be so beautiful. Yeah, it really gives the vibe of like gathering around the campfire and just like having someone play some beautiful music. And if you're not into ska punk, that's fine, but I really highly recommend this. This is a great release. And then the last album we'll talk about, this is Marry Me by St. Vincent. St. Vincent is the project of Annie Clark. This is her first album, and categorizing it by genre, it's sort of a chamber pop. I'm not like super familiar with what that necessarily means, but I've heard it described as such, so if you know what that means, that's what it is. Also kind of art rocky, like, you know, there's some rock elements to it as well. But yeah, I mean, this album is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a beautiful album. Her vocals are always mind-blowing. I love the lyrics. And really what's best is not just how great the songwriting is and how catchy it is, but also there's always this sense of like something very sinister, like kind of bubbling under the surface. Like if I always have thought that this album is like the soundtrack for like falling down the rabbit hole kind of a thing. Like it's very beautiful, but at the same time, it's also very frightening and sinister. So yeah, again, highly recommend it. It's very different than her later stuff, which is more electronic in nature, but that one's more of a rock inflected. So yeah, so let's get into some metal. Making decent time. I probably got to speed up a little bit. This is Dominion with Cemetery Filth. This might look like a run-of-the-mill old school death metal album, but it's actually kind of a sleeper hit. I think it's really fucking good. It kind of, I had like a comparison in my mind. I always say Morbid Angel with these bands, but I mean, really, they kind of are like really influenced by Morbid Angel. But yeah, riffs go really hard. The drumming is what I listen to a lot on this release. If you want to check out some songs, I'd recommend Paralytic Scourge and Churning of the Shallows. Great songs. This is on Dark Descent Records, I should mention. Yeah, this is a great album. I'm going to listen to this a lot more. This is awesome. Oops. Miss Machine by the Dillinger Escape Plan. If you are not familiar with Dillinger Escape Plan, you're in for a treat. If you listen to them, they're quite unique. Or to me, they are, at least. I haven't listened to a whole bunch of mathcore, but this is their second album, and this is the new singer from their first album, and they started to incorporate clean vocals with sung melodies, and I think it really works for them. I know a lot of people do not like it, which is that's their opinion, so it's fine. Yeah, you know, I think every song on here is great, and this is probably my favorite Dillinger album, so I very much recommend it. If you're looking for songs to start with, Setting Fire to Sleeping Giants is probably one of the more melodic ones, and maybe Sunshine the Werewolf or Panasonic Youth are like good heavier songs that they have on here. So yeah, it's Miss Machine, Dillinger Escape Plan. Oops, right. And then I also listened to, I don't have this on physical CD, but I listened to Blackwater Park by Opeth, probably for the second or third time. I don't know if Midair Opeth is really doing it for me. There's moments when I'm really, really engaged, and then it just loses me for some reason, and I just like can't keep my attention on it. So I don't know. I really want to like it, but it's just not doing it for me right now. So unfortunately, that's the case. But I do want to like it. I want to like all the Opeth releases, but you know. And then another album that I don't have physically is Amongst the Catacombs of Nephren-Ka by Nile. This was actually a recommendation by somebody on, I believe, my Journey into Death Metal video, probably that one because it has the most views. I think it's actually up to like 300 views, which is incredible. So if you stuck around after that video, thanks. I really appreciate it. The viewer in question, his name was Alexander something or other. It sounded, his last name sounded very European or Russian to me. I'm a very ignorant American though, so I'm sorry if I'm wrong about that. But yeah, this is actually a great release. I really enjoyed the production. You know, the guitar tone to me it was extremely thick, way buzzier than I was expecting it to be. The closest I could think of in relation was like a Mortician, you know, who has like a stupid thick tone on their guitars. And then of course the ancient Egyptian theme is a very unique choice, and you know, I was wondering what they were going to do with that, and it actually works well. I think that the song topics are very interesting, and there's like little interludes that kind of try to incorporate, you know, that the ancient Egyptian culture. But this album, I will say, if you're expecting like to go in and hear a bunch of riffs that are very, you know, stereotypically Egyptian sounding, like sort of like a Walk Like an Egyptian style, like or like what's that Offspring song? Come Out and Play, like that's very Egyptian. The song it is death metal. Not really any Egyptian inspiration to the music, I would say, that I've noticed. But yeah, it works really good. It's not as technical either as I expected it to be, because Nile is considered a very popular technical death metal band. But you know, this is their first album, so maybe their later stuff gets a bit crazier. So I'm very intrigued. So thank you again for that recommendation, and keep them coming. I really want to know some more bands to listen to. Next up, we have Sin After Sin by Judas Priest. This isn't my favorite Priest, but it has one of my favorite Priest songs on it, and that's sorry if you can see. And that's the cover of Diamonds and Rust. I love that song. But yeah, this is a great release. This is, again, not my favorite, but very good classic heavy metal. It's not a Judas Priest album that gets talked about as much as, you know, their classics like Screaming for Vengeance or like British Steel or whatever. But yeah, great album. I recommend it. If you haven't listened to it yet, go through it. And then I have two more releases that I don't have physically, but I am planning to get physically. And the first one is Monoliths of Inhumanity by Cattle to Decapitation. This is like a death grind band. And, you know, of course, it kind of is like very... it's one of those bands that has a very modern sensibility about the production and stuff. And so I think it kind of rubs people the wrong way. But I do think that they're a talented group with a lot of great songwriting. And you cannot deny that Travis Ryan is an incredible vocalist, very versatile. And this is when he started to incorporate that like Gollum singing voice that he does. So if you don't like that, then definitely don't listen to this. But yeah, I think this is a great album. And I think Cattle Decapitation is a band that I want to get into more. I've only listened to this album and Death Atlas. So yeah, I recommend it. It's very, very chaotic. death grind, but it has some groove to it, has a little bit of melody here and there. So, you know, it's not like the hardest thing to get into. And then the other one that I have listened to but don't own physically is God's Country by Chatpile. I have talked about this previously. I haven't listened to it again. I really, really want to own it physically because I really vibed with it. It's a depressing album, so it's not something I'm going to be always in the mood for. But when I'm just like feeling very like drained emotionally, I don't want to put on something that's going to like really get me going. So I would throw something like this on, and it would just kind of like fit my mood essentially. So yeah, I recommend God's Country by Chatpile. And then lastly, for metal, I actually forgot that I owned this on CD when I was looking for it. This is Remission by Mastodon. Mastodon are a sludge metal band, I believe is what they're categorized as. I also consider them progressive metal, from Atlanta, Georgia, I believe. And yeah, really talented group. You know, if you're wondering what sludge metal is, it's a genre of metal that's not as often talked about, I would say, as you know, death metal or black metal or whatever, but has its due. Basically, it's a combination of hardcore punk and doom metal, and you can definitely get that here. It has that doom metal tone, although it kind of takes it to an extreme, I would say, or close to an extreme. But the punk or hardcore riffing is still here. The metal riffing is still here, and it's kind of a perfect amalgamation in my mind of writing that line very, very elegantly. So yeah, but with all that being said, it's like not I don't know, it's not an album that I enjoy greatly. I definitely enjoy Leviathan, I don't know if their first album or not. The Moby Dick album. I enjoy that one a lot more than this one, but that one's still good. There's some good songs on there, so give it a listen if you are interested in sludge metal. But I would say that Leviathan is a better place to start. All right, and then finally we're moving into Dungeon Synth. I only have one release to show, so I'll quickly go over the ones that I don't have. First up is Carpathian Melancholy by Vampiric Solitude. I talked about this project previously, and this is another release by them, or by him, I should say, and it's good. It's it's continuing that same thing as the other release that I love so much. Kind of just, you know, blends into the background, so I recommend that one. I wish there was a physical release of it, but there is not, unfortunately. Then I listened to Cavern Magics by Sequestered Keep. Sequestered Keep is a project that I listened to very, very early on when getting into Dungeon Synth. I'm trying to remember the name of the project that I first listened to. Maybe it was Wandering Far. I think it was a project Wandering Far. But and so I've just been like slowly working through their discography, going back to the older ones, and because they're quite prolific. They have quite a lot of releases. So they're more in the Dungeon Synth style of like trying to be very fantasy. And I wouldn't say they blend into the background nearly as well as a lot of other Dungeon Synth that I prefer. But they're still a great project, and I still recommend them for sure. The other one that I want to talk about that I don't have physically, Ancient Meadow Records, right there, right, oh God, where am I going? Right here. This is a poster for them. Ancient Meadow Records are releasing a box set of this project, Secluded Alchemist, and so I listened to their project Laboratory Amongst the Leaves to see if I wanted to get that box set. It's a little steep for me as I haven't listened to any of their releases, so I'm going through, but what I've heard so far I really enjoy. It's very naturey, you know. This album, I don't know if I mentioned the project or the name of the release, but Laboratory Amongst the Leaves, you know, has that very naturey feel to it, and yeah, I don't know, just very not down, what's the word? I don't know, simple. It's just simple, but it's great. I recommend it. And I am possibly gonna snag that box set, even though it's like $60. But Oh, you might hear my cats running around in the background. So yeah. Okay, and then one more that I need to talk about is this, The Pale Rider by Iron Wraith. This is very cool dungeon synth. I feel like I don't know much what to say about a lot of dungeon synth because it is kind of samey in a lot of ways, but like they're not, I don't know, like I'm not like qualified yet to speak on dungeon synth. So I'm just showing what I have, but I like the cool chainmail print here. But yeah, this is another excellent release. I was happy to be able to get a copy of it. There was only a few left, I believe, when I... Come on, get out of here, J-Card. There was only a few left when I was buying it, so there might be some more left on the Bandcamp. But I would check quickly, to be honest. Here's the J-Card. Yeah, I got 19 of 20. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Not much else to say. Give it a listen. All right. That's all the music I have. Finally. So now we'll move into the board games. I will just talk again very briefly because we're going way over time. So I had some coworkers over, and we played Ticket to Ride, train laying game with matching color cards. A little bit of competition, but like not super competitive. Very light on the rules, which is what I was looking for. So this is a classic. It sold millions of copies, so I'm not going to talk much about it. But Ticket to Ride. And then played Wingspan with Katie and a couple other friends. This is one of my, if not my favorite board game. Wingspan is sort of like an engine builder, kind of a tableau builder as well, if you'd like. A little bit of worker placement, so about birds. So yeah, highly recommend this game. Everyone I've introduced this to people who have like zero experience with board games, and they fall in love with it. Honestly, they love it. So I recommend it. It's probably very easily accessible. So get it if you want. Then we played Castles of Burgundy. I actually played this solo first and then played it 2-player with Katrina. This is like a tile-laying game, dice rolling game. It's a classic, modern classic by Stefan Feld. And yeah, I don't know what else to say except I actually, I really love this game. The scoring is very unique and you get a lot of points very quickly. And then towards the end of the game, you're like kind of doing your best to get as many points as possible. Which it's a very interesting way to do it. And yeah, this is like the special edition that comes with a lot of like mini expansions and stuff. So Katie wasn't crazy about it, but I want to introduce it to some friends and see what they say, because I think it could be very fun. This is Flamecraft. This is one of those like games. It's like the new hotness right now with all the conventions and stuff. And Katie bought it just because she thought it looked cute, which is fair. It does. I love the art style, and I also think it looks very cute. But I wouldn't have bought it. But Katie bought it at our local game store, and it's actually awesome. It's very fun. It comes with this very long. You'll see here this very long neoprene playmat is like the playmat, and then you have little shops lining it, and you can place dragons and use their abilities, and so it's kind of like a worker placement style game. I don't know what else to call it aside from that, but yeah, very cool. I recommend it. I know there's like a deluxe edition with like better components and stuff, but we just have the basic edition. So sorry, I hit my knee against the table. The Quacks of Quedlinburg, designed by Wolfgang Worsch. I think he pronounced it that way. This is a bag builder, classic push your luck bag builder. And we played this so many times since buying it. We bought it at the same time as Flamecraft, and we probably played it like 4 times. This is a very, very fun game. I have never won. I never will win because I have awful luck. But yeah, that's a perfect. It's kind of like the perfect weight to be a great party game, even though it's a bit heavier than like Yahtzee or something. You know, that's a terrible example. But lastly, Attack on Titan: The Last Stand. This is designed, as you can see, by Antoine Bauza and Ludovic Malblanc. Antoine Bauza you might recognize from other games, such as Takenoko, which I also have. But this is like an all versus one dice rolling game. I got this for really cheap on Right Stuff. They might have some more. It was like $35, but as you can see, there's like a 3D Titan that your characters can stand on. And this is actually a very fun game. I know it's a franchise tie-in, and those are kind of like, you know, you get what you pay for sort of a thing, but that's a very fun game. We just barely eked out a win. And yeah, very, very fun. I recommend it. I think it's best with, we had 4 players. I think it's actually best with 4 players, to be honest. But it goes up to 5, so. Okay, it's 35 minutes. We have 2 things left. Just 2. Stick with me for 2 more things. I should mention at the beginning of these videos to just turn me up to 1.5 times speed, or even 2 times if you can listen. Because, you know, just don't waste your time. That's what I do. And I have watched long videos about things. I always turn it on at 1.5 times speed, so. Okay. The moment you've all been waiting for this, I finally finished The Way of Kings. It's taken me months to do so because it's 1,000 pages, but wow, I loved it. It was incredible. It's kind of got a slow start. Well, the start is not very slow, but kind of has a slow, like if you were gonna break the book into fifths, the second fifth is where it's kind of slow. But yeah, it's incredibly complex world building. The story is so tight, and there's lots of surprises, even though I wasn't expecting a lot of them. So, a lot of cool revelations, especially toward the end of the book. And again, I think the setting is, I would have to say, this one of the stronger elements, probably the strongest element. Even though toward the end the story was very engaging as well. And there's a lot of cliffhangers, a lot of questions left, and it's I really want to go out and buy the next book. I actually tried to, but I need to get it in this size, and the Barnes and Noble that I went to did not have it in this size, so I'll probably order it online. So yeah, phenomenal, so excited. Okay, this is Hellboy, Volume 3. The Wild Hunt. There. And the art is mostly done by Duncan Fegredo. The story is by Mike Mignola. This is the best Hellboy yet for me. This omnibus is awesome. The art is beautiful. I think I might prefer Duncan Fegredo over Mike Mignola, but that's kind of saying a lot, because I really love Mike Mignola's artwork as well. They really want to get in. Hellboy is a very complex character with a unique or interesting inner struggle. And I love the way they connect the mythologies in this. There's a lot of Russian and Celtic mythology in this one. And it kind of, the end of the story leads into a cliffhanger into Volume 4, which I also have and will read hopefully soon. And just quickly before the end of the video, I want to do a little rant about why in the world would anybody, when making a Hellboy film adaptation, choose to start with this one. That makes no sense. For the 2018 Hellboy, they adapted this story, and it just makes 0 sense. Just start at the beginning. It doesn't make any sense. They did it backwards, basically. So, God, I hate that movie even more now. But that's it. We're under 40 minutes. Great job. You did a great job. You did a great job. I'm talking to myself, but I'm also talking to you. So yeah, thanks for sticking around. If you watch this whole stupid video, I'll try and be short next time. I always say that. Oh, I always say that. I'll try to be shorter next time. Maybe I'll start just picking things that I really want to talk about and not like everything that's Dune, but it's fine. Okay, whatever. Bye. Have a good day. See ya. Stay safe.